Hello, bonjour, salam alaikum, marhaba, sat sri akal, hola. Welcome to the International Women's Panel, Growing Demand for Social Inclusion and Cultural Diversity, Challenges Faced by Multicultural Women. The challenge before our society is how to nurture its global citizens, to develop a global mindset sensitive to all cultures and people. I think, can you hear a repetition of everything? Can you hear a repetition, Sarah?
It's clear.
It's clear?
Yeah, you're clear.
Their cognitive skills and the passion to achieve the goals advocated in multiculturalism, gender, sexuality, political differences, subcultures, and personal differences. Today, in spite of this honest effort, the fact that remains is not only women are underrepresented, but multicultural women face two career challenges as women and as persons of color. It's time to leverage multicultural women. It is in this context, World Multicultural Festival Canada is holding this panel with a galaxy of eminent ladies from various parts of the world. Thank you. I hand the stage to Sarah for a short speech, and then we start with the panelists.
Thank you very much, Gypsy, for inviting me to moderate this very important conversation marking International Women's Month, as far as I'm concerned. And yes, indeed, we do have a very distinguished panel of women of all different origins, different waves of migration here to Canada, etc. But the one woman I'm most anxious to hear from right now is Elder Verna, because we need to acknowledge the land on which this event is happening. So if we have Elder Verna with the Indigenous land acknowledgement, please.
Oh, miigwech, Sarah. Hello, everybody. I say Kwekakina. Verna Nidishnikas, Kitagon Zibi Nindon Jabawa, Gushnido, Damashichonim Kipanesi. Hello, my name is Verna McGregor, and I'm from the Kitagon Zibi Anishinaabeg First Nation, which is near Ottawa. And I'd say Fox is my clan on my mother's side, and Onimki Panesi is Thunderbird, which is a clan on my father's side. And for us as Algonquin, Anishinaabe, we're known as Umamaninawag, which is the nomads, but we also welcomed the first explorers to the land here and brought them up to the river, the Ottawa River. We're known as the river people. So one of the biggest contrasts with contact was the understanding of women. And the concept of women, for us, were known as the life givers, the bringers of life, which was very, very powerful and honored. And that understanding too as well that that diversity starts with the male female, that although our roles were different, it didn't mean one was superior to the other, that we balance each other in order to bring in the next generation.
Excuse me, Elder Verna.
Yes.
A number of people have not muted themselves. Please all mute yourselves, because we can hear someone's television or radio or something. So please all mute yourselves. Yeah, somebody's TV is still on.
Yeah, I think that
or
it's
Gypsy, could you mute everybody except Verna?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah, because we really need to hear this very, very important message.
Yeah, everybody's muted now.
Yeah. Going back now, I forgot where I was. Yeah, so we've welcomed a lot of people to our lands here. And again, too, as well, I just mentioned that diversity starts with the male and female, although our roles were different. It didn't mean one was superior to the other. For us, the men passed on the land when they were hunting, they were the protectors, providers, and the women passed a lot of times in childbirth, bringing in the next generation. That doesn't mean, so that understanding is that we balance each other, the male, female, in order to bring in the next generation. So here we are today, but also in governance. We had the Women's Council, and as well as the Men's Councils, the Youth Council, because everybody belongs in the circle, the medicine wheel. And that's a medicine wheel teachings that I have here. And I'm sorry, I'm coming to you from my car because I couldn't get in my office today. And it reminded me too as well, the importance of technology and women's access to technology, also to break that divide in a modern context. So I'm very grateful for technology, but it also has its challenges, but it also has a great potential for equality for women as well. So on that note, I'm just going to sing you a little song, and because also our songs are our prayers. And I'm going to sing you the women's song. It's called the Strong Women's Song. And I'm sorry I'm coming to you in my car, but it goes, I'll just sing it really quickly to send you your prayers. And I also have a smudge here in my car. And the understanding of the smudge is that I have the sage, the 4 medicines. It's our connection from the physical world to the unseen world. So I'm going to sing you a song really quickly to honor all you women and the work that we do, and to continue on, because one of the things I mentioned earlier is this week is I said to as well with the Women's Council, the women would also be consulted, especially with major decisions, as for example, like going to war, because we are the ones who raise our children, we bring them into the world. So if you're going to go to war or battle, it better be for a darn good reason, because it was our work. So to honor that, I'm going to sing you a song. So it goes like this. And I have my rattle, and it represents also healing. So it goes like this. Hey, 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 hey,
Tes écouteurs?
Miigwech, everybody, and I look forward to the other panelists. Thank you, Gypsy. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elder Verna McGregor, for that indigenous, very spiritual indigenous grounding. And once again, may I remind the people who are just coming in, I see some people have not unmuted themselves, please immediately all mute yourselves unless you are speaking, because we're getting feedback or sound from your TV or your radio, and we really, really want to hear everything everybody has to say. So Elder Verna did mention, she talked about governance and the role of women in governance. And we have two women leaders, one on the municipal level and one on the federal level. So we are going to first hear from Laura Dudas, who is the Deputy Mayor for the City of Ottawa, with her brief remarks.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I have to say, I appreciated you saying International Women's Month instead. I'm going to go a step further and say it should be all year long, every day, forever. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour, Kwe. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. It is such an honor to be surrounded virtually by such incredible women from the community to celebrate this year's International Women's Day. And in particular, I want to thank Elder Verna for her words of wisdom, her inspiration, and her strength. Because Ottawa is located on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe host nation. And we honor the lands of the First People, as well as all First Nations, Inuit and Métis in Ottawa, and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. As we celebrated International Women's Day just this past week, we focused on the achievements of the incredible women who came before us, those who are currently breaking down barriers and fighting social bias and injustice. And we celebrate the girls and the young women who will grow to be our strong future leaders. For me, this day is both a celebration as well as a commitment. Because while we have seen significant progress worldwide in our communities, there's still so much more left to be done. This year's theme was breaking the bias. It acknowledges the remaining imbalances in gender equity we face in our society as women. And this is important, as it's a well-known fact that when women do better, society as a whole benefits. I was recently looking at a report from RBC Economics, and it wrote, I found this very striking. It wrote that if women's wages were equal to men's in comparable jobs, we would see an 18 billion boost to Canadian household incomes, an increase of 1.5%. That is huge. I was flabbergasted, but I wasn't surprised. I know at the City of Ottawa, we have been taking steps to try to address these gaps and become more equitable as both an employer and as a service provider. In the top ranks of our organization, 7 of the 14 senior roles are filled by women. We have more women on City Council this term than any of the preceding. And these are great strides. But as I said, there is still so much more to do. And I say that because while we celebrate the increases in women's representation, we absolutely must continue to strive for cultural diversity. Because Ottawa is a diverse city. It is multicultural and we are richer for it. As our population will continue to grow, we're going to see approximately 400,000 new residents expected by 2046. We're going to experience greater cultural riches as people arrive from other parts of Canada and beyond. But we also know that not all communities feel the same level of comfort or inclusion in our city. We see that in the peaceful demonstrations on Parliament Hill or at City Hall. We hear that when we attend discussions hosted by racialized communities. We recognize that when we look around our own workplaces and open our eyes to the fact that women and diversity in roles of power are absent. This term of council, we launched the Anti-Racism and Ethnocultural Relations Initiatives, including the creation of the city's first anti-racism strategy, which will include strategic actions and expected outcomes to confront systemic racism in our city. We also felt that it was incredibly important to establish the city's first women and gender equity strategy, which is going to work to remove the systemic barriers that women and gender diverse people face and to ensure equitable access to city services. We are starting to see a shift towards more diversity and equity in our community as more organizations and businesses hire multicultural, diverse women for key roles. But there's still such a long way to go. And as I noted, whether it's pay equity, that remains an issue, and women are being dissuaded from running for elected office. Indigenous, Black, and racialized women are still absent from many decision-making roles. This needs to change. Together, we can work towards social inclusion and strengthening our diverse community. And by doing this, we will be making our community, our city, and our world a better place for our children, laying the framework for a society that sees our diversity as our greatest strength. Thank you again to the organizers for inviting me here today. It is such an honor to be with such incredible women on this panel, and I wish you all a wonderful symposium.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Dudas. And I must apologize to Marie-France Lalonde. Je m'excuse. J'ai sauté un nom et puis vous devriez être la première intervenante. Donc, je m'excuse. So now we will have Marie-France Lalonde, who is the Member of Parliament for Orléans, and we'll have her remarks.
Thank you, Sarah, and no worry whatsoever. Good afternoon to you all. I'm Marie-France Lalonde, Member of Parliament for Orléans, Ontario. It is such a pleasure to be invited to the 2022 special edition of the World Multicultural Festival to have a dynamic discussion on social inclusion and cultural diversity and the challenges faced by multicultural women. I also want to say a big thank you to Elder Verna, who, with her words of wisdom, I think has set a very strong stage as we go forward. And I am here virtually meeting with all of you on the unceded territory of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe. And, you know, although we're not seeing each other in person this year, I feel confident that hopefully very soon we'll have a chance to all meet in person. I also would like to acknowledge my colleague, the Deputy Mayor, Laura Dudas, for her leadership in our community. I truly also want, and I have to recognize my friend and residents of Orléans, the community I have the privilege of representing, Gypsy Gosh. Sorry about that. Gypsy is a true leader in our community, and so many times, because of her initiative, she had made these events possible. So I want to say thank you for your dedication and your sense of commitment. Today, as we did acknowledge Sarah, we want to highlight International Women's Day. And certainly, I think just like what Laura said, you said month, I would say it should be International Women's Day every day. It was held though last Tuesday on March 8th, and it is important to note and celebrate as we have this conversation, the contribution, the achievements, and the realization of women of all backgrounds within the Canadian society. As the Member of Parliament for the beautiful community of Orléans, I have the chance to represent a beautiful and diverse community. People from all around the world have joined our community and contribute every day to its prosperity, as they do from coast to coast to coast to join our great country. The tremendously positive impact of these contributions can be felt at all levels, socially, economically, and culturally. I can proudly say that Orléans really is a microcosm of Canada. Through my work, I've been able to witness firsthand the outstanding contribution of the diversity of women in our community and throughout Canada. Just last week, I hosted the 2022 edition of the Orléans Leading Women's and Girls Recognitions Award ceremony, in which we recognized the tangible contribution made by a wide diversity of women in Orléans. Dedicated volunteers, academic high achievers, business leaders, mothers, daughters, and much more were among this group of exemplary women. We also had 4 young girls, aged under 18 years, amongst them. And when you read what they are able to achieve at such a young age, we know leadership is among these young generation, and our future is bright. Yes, International Women's Day is a time to celebrate the achievement of women, but it's also a good time to reflect on the progress that have been made, as well as what still needs to be done going forward. Since the times of Agnes MacPhail, the first woman ever elected to the House of Commons over 100 years ago, we now make up about a third of the House of Commons, near parity in the Senate, and also half of cabinet. Such drives have also been observed at all levels of government, such as provinces and municipalities. With this said, challenges still lies ahead. Whether it would be discrimination in the workplace, harassment, or wage gap among a multitude of other issues. On the world stage, it is no secret that women can face some immense burdens, difficulties, and discriminatory practices. And we must be leaders in tearing down those barriers, not just at home, but abroad too. Our country is a very culturally diverse one, and Canadian women are no exception. I'm proud to see that many outstanding women of all backgrounds who strengthen our society. Through cultural exchanges, such as today, we are working on creating a more open, tolerant, and welcoming society, and everyone benefits from this. While Canadian women are diverse, this intersectionality sometimes comes with its challenges. For example, discrimination is unfortunately still present in our society, and being not only a woman, but also part of a cultural minority can lead to even more difficulties. This goes to show that there's still work to be done to create a better Canada for women of all backgrounds. No matter your origin, creed, mother tongue, or skin color, we must continue to do everything in our power to form a society in which diversity is celebrated and where cultural exchanges are welcome. All in all, I want to thank everyone for being here and participating. Once again, it is my honor to be part of this panel because I'm sharing the stage with so many outstanding women. I will now be passing the virtual microphone back to you, Sarah, our panel moderator. Thank you. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Lalonde, et bravo pour tout le travail que vous faites dans votre comté et à la Chambre des communes. Thank you very much for your words and your work. Next, we will have Ana Maria Cruz Valderrama. Do we have Ana Maria?
Yeah, Anna was here.
Just a moment, I was in mute, sorry. Said that before I got to my PowerPoint presentation, I want to express my gratitude for those who have spoken before me, and for some addressing already the issues of discrimination, social exclusion, lack of social inclusion, of course. And Women's Day, as Deputy Minister said, is every single day. Women, we carry the duties every single day as mothers, wives, grandmothers, sisters, community leaders, community builders, take care providers, you name it. All is in our shoulders practically. And I'm talking from the point of view of seniors, and the great majority of seniors are women. So having said that, I'm going to express my point of view regarding the issue that is at hand from the point of view of seniors, from the real perspective, from my experiences as a community leader, community builder, and a senior. The experience that I live in this society is a wonderful country. Yes, it can be better. Yes, of course. But I am very much interested in you to know what are the perspectives of seniors in the issue of growing demand for social inclusion and cultural diversity and the challenges faced by multicultural women. I'm going to share a screen. No? So what is social inclusion? This is more or less the outline of my presentation. What does social inclusion matter to seniors? What issues matter to seniors? The role of the three levels of government on seniors' issues, senior needs. Do we have policies that reflect the needs of seniors? How the failures of existing policy implementation could be reduced or addressed, from policy to an equitable funding and program. Practical example, two sides of the story. Ottawa seniors seeking social inclusion in programs out of town. Why this is happening? And my conclusion. What is social inclusion? There is not a single definition of social inclusion. Social inclusion is very diverse. It includes employment, housing, education opportunities, social and recreational. I'm going to focus on the second part because as a senior, a retired senior, I don't say that seniors are not interested in work, of course, but I'm more interested as a social activist and community activist or social activist on the funding for social and recreational activities for seniors. Social inclusion is recognized as an important determinant of health, both physically and mentally. A social inclusive society is one in which people feel valued, differences and rights are respected, and basic needs are met so individuals live with dignity. And the practice of social inclusion allows for all of voices to be heard. Just a moment. Why does social inclusion matter to seniors? Social inclusion gives older adults a sense of purpose and accomplishments and of belonging to the community. Sometimes we feel ignored, we feel excluded, we feel that we don't belong. Either social inclusion allows older adults to stay active and to continue contributing to the development of society based on their needs, preferences, abilities, knowledge, wisdom, and expertise. Social participation fosters ties and prevents isolation. Social inclusion matters to seniors because allow us to continue to be a productive and active members of the Canadian society. What are the issues that matter to seniors? Long-term care. Enough has been said about with the pandemic, with COVID, the struggles and the cruel realities of seniors living in nursing home. Affordable housing, access to equitable funding for social, recreational, and educational activities. We may be older, less agile than the younger generation. We are always willing to learn new things and to embrace new intellectual challenges. Support for family members who are care providers to develop a strong sense of belonging. As there is a sense, as I said before, of being excluded, being counted out, and we need to be counted in. Excuse me. The role of the three levels of the government. I have thought about this because many people think that seniors, we have it all, that the three levels of the government take us in consideration and give to us everything, and this is not the case. So at the federal government, with the present government, we got the Minister of Seniors, giving more relevance to seniors. But I think more meat needs to be attached to the bone, I mean budget, for program for seniors across the country. We have the New Horizon for Seniors program that provides funding for seniors programs across the country. The provincial government, before we had the senior secretariat, that now is the Ministry of Seniors, Seniors Affairs and Accessibility. It also funds programs in the province, across the province. Then at the municipal level, we have the Senior Roundtable that was created in 2012, and we had the older adult plan with a budget of $500,000. Now, do we have policies that reflect the needs of the seniors in an equitable manner? Do seniors feel included with existing policies? I will say that existing policies do not address the needs in an equitable form. Policies exist, but it's in the process of implementation that is the great failure. The failures of current policies are centered in the implementation process, as I have already said. There is a lack of accountability in ensuring equitable allocation of resources for seniors program at the 3 levels of the government. And the cultural seniors are at the bottom of the scale of funding opportunities. How the failure of existing policy implementation could be reduced or addressed. We need a strong, intense advocacy work is needed at all 3 levels of the government. Our voices matter, our vote matter, and it's important. Social exclusion is a reality. Let elected representatives know of our disadvantaged position in funding, allocation of resources, and programs. You have to repeat it 1, 2, 3 times. I don't know many times. It doesn't matter. They have to listen. Remember that we elected them, and they don't have, by the way, they don't have a magnifier glass. So don't be shy. Express your views and your feelings and how we are feeling in the society. We are excluded. You have parents, grandparents, and we have needs. Be present and ask questions during the budget consultation process. Because I have been participating in the budget consultation process at the municipal level, and I see that we are absent. And I can say that silent and indifferent does not lead to social change or policy change. We have to be more, come with a stronger voice to express our needs. We are incredible, excellent. We exceed in highlighting our contribution to the Canadian economy, to the local economy, to our communities, but we failed the grade in expressing our social need. There is not a shame of that. It's the same like the company. The company has revenues and have expenditures. We have to talk about our social needs because public policy makers, they don't have a magnifier glass, and they need to hear our voice. We, our voice, also are enforcing accountability and also lead to a more participation. Now, in the upcoming municipal election, we, women and seniors, have power to elect at the helm of the city someone who cares about us and the cultural seniors, social inclusion, and cultural diversity. You have no idea the power we have now. We have a tremendous power, and we may be able to elect a woman to lead the city and to lead the city to a greener pasture with all the voices that are accounted for, and the seniors matter, not just in the dialogue on the nice speeches, but in reality. How the failure of existing policy implementation could be reduced. And I'm sorry, I said that, yeah. And this, yeah, so we're talking now, we said how the policies and equity funding and programs. I'm talking about the cultural, the Ottawa Grassroots and the Cultural Seniors Network managed by the Social Planning Council of Ottawa, how it has managed social exclusion, moral duty, and will and determination to serve. Lack of local funding has not deterred our commitment and determination to serve peers in the community. Effective work has kept us in and visible. Out of the 21 cultural organizations that form the network, 19 are strong women who lead this cultural organization. They are strong leaders, hardworking, very committed. And I had the privilege to work with one of them who has over 60 years of community experience, to work in the community and give it back to others. And that is Eva Sawanowski, and Polish lady. For over 15 years, this network has shown full commitment to our right to exist, filling the gap on social services, but successfully delivering recreational educational programs free of charge. COVID has helped to re-emphasize to the local government our resilience, commitment, determination to serve and assist peers to navigate the system and survive the worst health crisis in a century. For these previous 15 years, we didn't get assistance from the local government, but we are contributing to the well-being of all seniors in our community and to the well-being of the city of Ottawa. Success. After 15 long years of community service, the city of Ottawa recognized Ottawa Grassroots Cultural Senior Network for the outstanding community work, especially during the pandemic, by proclaiming June 22nd, 2021, Ottawa Grassroots Cultural Seniors Network Appreciation Day in the nation's capital. But again,
excuse me, Ana Maria,
yes,
if you could start wrapping up because we have
yes, there's only 2 more left.
Yeah.
The network received 5 years grant for $75,000 per year. That's interesting because it gives us a per capita of 25 per capita, as we serve to over 3,000 seniors. That is interesting to me when a city project expenditure per capita is $566.66. Based on that number, I want you to think that the network grassroots is contributing to the public purse in an annual in-kind contribution of almost $700,000. However, our community work is undervalued and is led by women. Why? But also we had the missing opportunities and missing voices. Very recently, the city discussed very publicly the e-scooter project. The people with disabilities were well represented and voicing out their concern, but seniors were absent. I have to emphasize that seniors, we must take every single opportunity to make us visible. I also saw the lack of interest in applying in our grant specifically created for accessible and equitable opportunities for vulnerable Canadians and vulnerable groups. We missed the mark. Why? Grab every single opportunity. It could be a small window, but it's opening the window. Lack of interest in applying internal allocation of rent subsidy to a specific facility during off-prime time. And here is why the city has failed during the 2 years of the pandemic to provide a program accessible to all seniors across the city. Why we have to go out of town in the case of Dancing with Parkinson that unites seniors across Canada on a daily basis, creating an extraordinary family. The International Federation of Aging every Friday at 7 o'clock in the morning, an incredible workshop. The workshop on last Friday was on the ability of using technology that facilitate connection and delivery of services. So the conclusion, I have faith that tomorrow will be a better day than today. We all have a role to play in ensuring that seniors programs are more inclusive, more equitable, and more accessible. I feel confident that working together, not just talking, we will achieve more inclusive society. Never underestimate your abilities and capacity to work to address the needs of people you know, care, as well as need of the strangers. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Ana Maria. Hey. And really, thank you so much for the work you have been doing. Yes, everybody can clap, can air clap and acknowledge this incredible work that Ana Maria has been doing with a network of like-minded individuals. I'd also like to salute, I think I saw in here, Violaine Gabriel of Regroupement Affaires Femmes, who does similar work with seniors, mostly Haitian seniors, because it is true, our senior women, senior ethnocultural women have been invisibilized by the economy, by society, very much by the pandemic until we started going into the homes and seeing the extent to which they were affected. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. So next, after that incredible presentation, we have Madame Chantal Mulop, who I understand is joining us from, are you joining us from New York City or are you in DRC? The great Madame Chantal. Did she drop off? Gypsy? Did we lose her?
She's still here.
So can we hear from her, please? Because she's doing work on an international level back in DRC, but has been very involved in advocating for women's rights right here in Ottawa for many years. Chantal?
She probably just stepped away for a minute.
Oh, okay. So, you know, we can move on to the next person and then come back to her. Can you let her know, Gypsy, please? Okay. So can we have Nazila Isgandarova, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. And feel honored to be in the circle of this incredible woman. I joined you from Toronto, and I represent Azerbaijani Women's Support Center. We are a relatively very young community organization. We established in 2005, but we collaborate with different women's organizations across Canada. And in 2013, we, together with the National Council of Women Canada, we presented at United Nations, and our presentation focused on tackling violence against women. Recently, we collaborate with different women's organizations in the GTA, including Interfaith Institution, National Council of Jewish Women, and Canadian Council of Canadian Women. And our project is titled One Voice, and it is a tool for faith leaders, and we aim to tackle domestic violence in faith communities. I resonate with everyone here who applaud and kind of congratulate all many women of color in Canada who think that Canada changed their life positively. We are proud of their work and their dedication to improve the lives of women, and including not only women of color, but all Canadian women in our beautiful country. Their stories also taught us that women of color are also more vulnerable in regards to the 14 social determinants of health as well. We still have systematic health differences, and for example, I really hope that in coming future years, we will solve systematic health differences in Canada. In addition to socioeconomic differences, we also need to pay attention to differences in, for example, discrimination and bias that the women of color, they experience every day. Because all these have a very important outcomes. For example, women of color in Canada, they still face this discrimination and bias, and there are sometimes, you know, they are afraid to go and receive mental health services because of discrimination. They think that they might face in mental health institutions as well. So in that respect, we still need to address health inequities, and health inequities is about disparities, right? Disparities in the health status of different social groups. And we still have significant social and economic cause of health inequities in Canada. And social injustice is one of the important issues that we still face in Canada too. Immigrant women, I would like to talk about immigrant women. We are still connected to our homelands. And I would like to bring to your attention the suffering of Ukrainian women. And the Ukrainian women these days, they live with everyday fear and concern for Ukraine. And Azerbaijani Women's Support Center recently, they collected donations, and we gave this donation to Canada Ukraine Foundation to support the fight for freedom and to protect the wonderful, beautiful country, Ukraine. And why I bring the perspectives of immigrant women, because how we should not worry when we every day hear that still thousands of children every day worldwide die before they reach the age 5. They still die from pneumonia, malaria, malnutrition, and tuberculosis. And tuberculosis is a disease of poverty. And we know that poorest families, not only in a poor country, but in Canada too, they are vulnerable. Twice we see more deaths of children in poorest families when we compare them to rich families. We know that parental literacy play an important role, and parental literacy in particular has an impact on the health of children too. So still in Canada, we talk about the maternal health in Aboriginal communities. And as an immigrant woman and woman of color, I still think that how we can collaborate with Aboriginal women to improve their social and health status as well. In Canada, as a social worker and a registered psychotherapist, I think about the health of Canadians. Is it getting better or is it getting worse? We still have the housing crisis in Canada, and 30,000 people are homeless, and on any given night, and an estimated 50,000 people, they have hidden homelessness. And Canada is a third amongst the OECD nations for life expectancy. It is ranked number 8 in 1980, and where we are in that respect. And we also talk about the food insecurity these days, especially during the COVID-19. And 1.1 million households in Canada, they face the food insecurity. And 40,000 Canadians die prematurely each year as a result of the social inequality too. So we need to pay attention to these numbers. I don't want to take your time, but again, I want to say happy International Women's Day, and hopefully in coming years, we women of color will not be talking about how these social determinants of health affect our health. We will talk more about our achievements and accomplishments. Thank you so much for organizing this event.
Yes, shukran, Nazila. Thank you so much for all of that, this update and reminder, many reminders about all the things we should be paying attention to, and also the call to action. And just like Ana Maria said, you know, we have elections coming up. We're not completely helpless as women, right? We're not. In Canada, at least, you can speak with your vote. You can advocate with your vote. So let's be mindful of the work that all these organizations are doing and the issues that really need to be highlighted. So now I understand we do have Chantal with us, Chantal Yelou-Mulop. If we can hear from you, please.
Yes. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Gypsy. Hi, my
Oh my God, seeing you after a long time.
Yes, I know. Hi, Laura. Hi, Yvette. Those are all those people that I knew when I used to live in Canada. So maybe you know me as an advocate for everything regarding women's rights. I organized the Women March when I was in Canada for like 3 years. I work very close with everybody from the Liberal Party because I'm the member of the Liberal Party. I'm sorry talking about political. And I was the coordinator for the volunteer coordinator for Ottawa-Vanier. I was the chairwoman for the women in the Liberal Party for Ottawa-Vanier. So and I was the I used to work for the how you call that Université Saint Paul. I'm very sorry because I just came this morning from Addis Ababa. I'm in New York, so my mind is kind of tired. And now I work as a special advisor to the in DRC to the president of DRC as for gender, youth, and violence against women. So talking about diversity and in something that I can talk about what was my experience in Canada and what is my experience now in DRC. And my experience in Canada was very a good experience because I bring that in DRC. There was a lot of discrimination. So I can tell that. I can talking about the discrimination in the workplace by being a woman and be a charge nurse because I have the background as a nurse, be a director of care. I remember one time they was looking for a CEO for the nursing home where I was working to. And then the director general. And I was one who were qualified to get the position, but because I was Black, I need to tell that, because I was Black, they went to take a woman from Lithuania, I think, something like that, who did only 5 years in Canada, instead me, who did more than 25 years in Canada, who have a diploma, a degree, experience. They prefer to take that lady who was working with us in the same retirement home to become the director. And she has no experience and she has no, how could I say, no background. And she was just a secretary from the nursing home. And on the other side, I remember I used to hire, because of my position as a CEO, as a director of care, I was hiring people. But in that field, most of the people was more Black people was coming on that field. Is to be a PSW. There was less Caucasian who was coming, less Asian people, because it was in the French environmental. So that means if you don't speak French, it's already discriminating. That means if you're Asian or somebody else and you don't speak French, you're already discriminating. You cannot work there. So the most who were coming was more like Asian people, African people, less white people was coming to work there. And then the director one day, he called me and he said, you know what, Chantal, I feel like you're just hiring your kind. Just hiring my kind. I was like, oh, in shock. I said, no, I'm hiring everybody. I'm hiring some people, but most of those coming is them. You know, it was always that kind of thing was happening to me. But on the other side, I get good, I met very, very good people. I just want to say that everybody was racist. It wasn't, not, that's what I want to say, but there was so many discrimination. Diversity was very hard. And when you look at our country, Canada, it's a diversity country. We all came from everywhere around the world. You will see a Canadian woman who's married with somebody from South America. You will see a South American man married with an Asian person. This is Canada. But sometimes some people doesn't get that. They're thinking that Canada belongs only to them, but Canada belongs to all of us. But going to Africa, I find the same thing. You will be so surprised. You find discrimination even in Africa. I came in Africa, I said, okay, I have my office as a special advisor. I will do diversity and inclusion in my office. So that was the first office, president office, governmental office, where I'm the one who hired some albinos. You know, the albinos here, they're very, very discriminate. I was the first one in my office to put a person living with disability. I was the first person to put in Aboriginal person in my office from our country. We call them the Pygmy. And I was the first one to hire a person was, how do you call that? I want to say, I don't want to say that, but they're short people. How do you say that? In French, we say nan, the nan. I was the
Little
first
people.
One, yeah, little people. Thank you, Sarah. And I was the first one to hire them in my office. And people were so surprised. And then you start fighting for different cases. We fight for albinos because here, albinos, I don't know if you know who's albinos. Albinos, they are not white people, they're Black people because the pigment, they don't have any pigment. And that's why they're very, very light skin. They have light, white hair and very, very light skin. Some of them have blue eyes, some of them have kind of red eyes. So we fight for them. We went to African Union and we put in place a convention for for albinos. Then we're asking to people how could I say, to hiring at least one albinos in their office. So slowly, it's working on that side. And the other side, for decades, we never have a ministry of people living with disability. For the first time, when the president was nominated, President Felix Tshisekedi, on his first government office, the member of the government, he nominated a person living with disability to be the minister of people living with disability. So more and more we're going on diversity. We're working more on that. And on the other side, for so many years, we went for 1%, maybe 0% to 25% of women in the government since the President Tshisekedi is there. So now we have 27% of women in the government, and we're trying to fight. Then we can have equality, like 50-50 between men and women. And the other side too, I want to talk about the masculinity positive. We work for the country to nominate the president of the country to be the how could I say that
Tu peux le dire en français?
Oui, même en français, ça ne vient pas parce que mon cerveau est gelé. Je m'excuse. À cause du long voyage, je fais 20 heures de voyage. We call him the champion, sorry. We call him the champion of masculinity positive in Africa, to fight on violence against women and girls. So from there was a declaration that we're calling the Kinshasa Declaration, with 10 steps that all the head of state from Africa must follow. So I take that declaration and I bring that to some MP in Communauté Européenne,
European Union.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. In Belgium, 2 months ago. So one of the MP will take that with the question that we bring to her, to bring that to the African, to the European community, to hold that too, to see if they can working on that and see what is the advantage for them to use that too. I can bring that to Canada too and give that maybe to Marie-France Lalonde. That would be so great. Huh? And I'll send you that declaration of Kinshasa. On the other side, in June 19 June and this year, no, on that last year, the president declared, pronounced around the country that we need to stop on everything regarding violence against women. So there was what we're calling la déclaration tolérance zéro. So no more violence against women. And then for 2 years, we need to finish the program regarding that. And on the global side, the president is working, because I'm always talking about the president because I worked for him. So those are the program that I'm holding, but I worked for him. And then we're talking about the Every Woman Treaty. That will be a treaty, a global treaty around the world, where we're having a decision where the president will say, okay, finish with the violence against women around the world. And he is supported by 250 CEO women around 125 countries. So we try to bring all of that, and then from there we'll say finish for everything with violence regarding women. And the last thing is the G100. We're working on a group of women. G100 is a horizontal group of 100 women. They call them la crème de la crème. We have Céline, comment s'appelle? One minister from France, and name I just forget the name, but we have some different personalities working with us to find the solution for the les ODD. I don't know how to say that in English. Les ODD for 2030. So on gender and different of them. I think there are like 17 that we need to achieve for 2030. And there's another one for the African Union for 2060, 63. So we're working all together, all of those women. We've said, Ségolène Royal, I'm sorry, the name was just falling, forget. We're working with Ségolène Royal. We have the former vice president of Serbia. We have the former minister of Holland. We just a team of women, 100 women and 100 he for she men to support that mission. And then we traveled different countries. We went to Switzerland, talking with, in Geneva, talking with the human rights. They say, okay, what we're doing, we don't ask them to support us, but we're supporting them on the mission that they want to do. We went to New York, so we're talking to everybody in New York. We went to Belgium, we went to Holland, we went to Dubai to meet with different organizations for us to achieve the agenda 2030. And on the other side, we're working horizontally and we're working vertically in different countries. So we try to find 100 women in different countries for the 100 field, and 100 women and men on the city level, and keep going to achieve those agenda, and say that we're getting. And the parity now exists around the world. We made it, and there was the woman who decided to put that in place. So far, those are the kind of work that I'm doing.
Merci beaucoup, Chantal, et félicitations. Thank you so much, Chantal. Ladies, this Chantal is an example of what Canada does well. And I hope our two politicians are still here, especially Madame Lalonde. Canada does very well in training immigrant women, especially those of us from the Caribbean and the African continent, in terms of advocating for things like gender parity and ending violence against women. And look at what Chantal has done, gone back to the DRC, has taken it to her president, who thankfully has opened his ears and his mind to what she proposes. And now look, an African country is going around the globe advancing the fight against gender-based violence and enlisting men in this fight, because it's not a fight women do alone. I think there were several people in the chat who did mention the importance of engaging male partners in this fight. So thank you very, very much for that. Next, we have Yang Yang.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yang Yang. First of all, thank you so much for our president, Gypsy, the invite again. And then so many times join the community events. I've been inspired, and then I've been so happy meeting so many great female leaders, community leaders, and then ladies, girls, and then every time in the community, when I hear everybody's story and the speech, I so moved. Myself, like same, I'm not born here. I'm an immigration in Canada. When Gypsy talked to me, say, Yang, how do you feel about diversity? And then about our female power, and then what should we do? That echoes a lot of personal stories and situations I see, during my career here. So personally, I'm a mother of two. So I have one girl, one boy. My girl 12 years old already. My boy 3.5 years. And then personally, I work in the banking industry for 16 years. And then currently, I'm the director of the CIBC Capital Market, Global Market, and the head of China's geology. And then as first when I arrived here, community is my family. I was an international student. It's all of the friends, all like you, share their experience, share their support, and then here is who I am in Canada at this moment. And today, especially we're celebrating our International Women's Day. And then I think Anna mentioned, or other lady mentioned, International Women's Day or Women's Day should be every day because we're very important. There are many events and then people talking about female power. And then sometimes probably you hear some voice and then talking about, like female, you only focus on your female. And then like not selfish, but like focus your own group, which I want to mention about like our value, how important we are. Like as a female, we are naturally, we are the mother of the kids. So what we do, it is the daily role model for them. So their education very important, in school, but we are the person raise them up. And then what we do, what effort we put every day, what change, we do every day. It doesn't matter end of the day whether you're going to success or not. That's another thing I want to mention today. But your effort, your kids looking at you. And then it doesn't matter your kids, they are girls or boys. They are looking at their mother's hard work every day. And then that is, naturally, like, the people talking about kids. But second, even though talking about our family, talking about our husband, talking about our friends, whether you are single or married, but people around us, when we are stronger, when we're putting the effort, being treated equally, we're happy and we are positive, right? So when we positive, we bring the same vibe to everybody. And then I heard a lot encourage women to work. Of course, because we're also educated. When a wife work, it's not saying that like the other way, won't work, it's still working very well. But I mean, all the opportunities, we've been putting into the right position. And then even talking about back in family and then the relationship and conversations you had with your husband is totally different. And then talking about company, like many of the great leaders today, like your full-time job in the very important position in your company. Naturally, male mindset and female mindset were very different. From the customer's point, for example, point of view, from the strategy thinking, and then this is naturally men and female, we think in different way. So when we see a C club of the company, have the balance of the voice of a female and also have the voice, the point of value of a male, that I think this study already many years ago shows the report. When a C club have the final decision, being made by male and female together, and then that is more efficient and more into the right direction, when we're talking about the whole company's development. So our role, it is very important from so many points. So it's not only talking about female, we talking about our rights, and then it is not. So that is the first thing I want to mention today, our value as female. And then what we've been doing so hard every day is not only for ourselves, for the community, but also to build up a stronger foundation for our kids. So so that is the value, I know many of you we mentioned that, we know that, but again, I want to mention that today. And then I see many great many great, like for example, the discussion today, and I so many leaders, Chantal just like, shared all his, her story. And then even though Chantal first time meet you, but I love it. And then a great community leader, like always trying her best to support and help senior community. So proud of that. And then like, from myself, the work, I noticed one thing, like when I talking with, for example, female candidates who apply for work, or even, looking for promotion, and then the difference between male, So for example, like, in the bank, if we have a senior position, and then when I, have that position post in the bank, and I do see like, different resume and talking to different candidates, and then, kind of a classic answer from a man, from a male candidates will say, Young, I would like to try because I believe I have the potential, this and that, right? So that's how I can feel the confident, and then like very brief to have the direct conversation with you when that person willing to achieve that position. And then like on the other hand, because like if I see a female candidate, I know that person been working, for example, in the industry for many years, and then I believe that person have the strong qualification to fit for this job. And I asked her, I said, hey, I haven't seen you apply for this job, but I know you want it, you talk about it before, and you are doing great job. Like why not apply for it? And then the answer I got is, Young, I want fully prepared, wait for fully prepared moment and then to apply for this job. Do you feel the difference? Like the men, when they are probably 60% ready, apply for that position, and then they are brave to apply for it. But our female, I feel like, we work hard. We want to sure we're 100%, we won't lose, we will success for that role, we'll make our leader success, and then make myself success, make my leader feel the right decision, and then I will apply, waiting for the right moment. But when is going to be the right moment, So we've been working hard, but on the other hand, I want to mention one thing, and also want all of you, if you talk with younger female, friends, candidates, or, your daughter, so just tell them that as a female, as a girl, because I think when we grew up, like my mom and dad teach me that way, we have to be humble, be a good girl, even though we see that from Cantu, right? Be a good girl, mommy's a good girl, perfect. We don't have to be perfect. Everybody need a way to grow. And then, if we're not perfect, that is the reason, that is the motivation. We work harder and then to be stronger. So, I don't want to say, tell the girls saying that you have to be perfect, have to be 100% ready for one position, one job. Of course, we work hard. We respect every opportunity, but on the other hand, also be brave to achieve your role. And then this kind of brave is not only happening at work. I mean, when we have communication, for example, we talk, well, also I think we mentioned that our men partners, right? So, we naturally take the role, we're the wife, we're the mother, take care of the kids, do the cooking part. But on the other hand, our husband, our partner, they are our partner. Why we call partner? We support each other. But sometimes because we have that mind, like Man said, already being here, and then sometimes we were not brave enough to bring that up. There is another case, happened to one of another team member, and then she was thinking apply for another job, but because of the schedule, she said, I cannot do it because if I change that position, I cannot pick up the kids on time. And then I said, well, have you talked with your husband whether, not saying that we are trying to run away from our duties. See, this shouldn't be we shouldn't thinking about this way, but communication, be brave to talk. I need this position to develop my career. And then the night shift, from Monday to Thursday.
My name is Bahar Wajid. It's a huge honor to be here from the Persian community. Very brief about women and children who were victims of domestic violence. And in Canada, I graduated from Cotton University in Women's and Gender Studies, focusing on intersectionality. It was an excellent opportunity for me to understand how my race, sex, and social. I run my own digital marketing. I teach business to primary women of color, city, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. I believe, first of all, the 7th annual Women in the Workplace report in 2021, a year and a half into the COVID-19 pandemic, women are more burned out than they were in 2020, and increasingly more than men. Women, particularly those of color, those with disability, and LGBT plus women are much more likely than men to encounter microaggressions such as disrespectful behavior. We all know that there is no easy fix for burnout or other issues. However, it seems there are ways to address and improve diversity and equity in the workplace. Here are some recommendations, or I would say are demands from the society. 1, tracking diversity metrics by gender and race and accountable for progress on diversity goals, often with financial incentives. It's very important. The 4th way is providing mentorship and censorship to provide new opportunity for women of color, and focusing on intersectionality, which is creating a sustainable work culture by adjusting policies, systems, and norms to improve employees' well-being is a way to improve diversity in the workplace. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Bahare. And sorry, I have to rush people now, but let's next hear from Trina Constantini Powell, please. Thank you.
And I first time I've been on a Zoom call where this is unfortunate in today's world. But anyways, I'm coming from the National Congress of Italian Canadians, representing a community of about 46,000 people that identify having Italian descent. Italian community in Ottawa dates back to about the 1850s. And so it is an older community that over time has continued to, put forth their very rich tapestry of cultural traditions. But I think in terms of assimilation, it has happened because we've been here for so long. And I can think of the women that came before my generation, and as I say, I'm a second generation Canadian of Italian descent. The women that may have come in the early 1900s, like my grandmother, or the wave of women that came in the 1950s from Italy following the Second World War. they perhaps experience discrimination. You know, many of them came as young girls. They married maybe at the age of 15, 16, and you know, immediately they were thrust into being a wife and soon a mother. I think of my own grandmother who had 7 children, sort of all in a row, and she never worked outside the home. And these women were subject to, you know, discrimination. The Italians were called names, Dagos and Wops, because they were coming into an environment that was pretty much, let's say, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, we'll say, and the Italians were coming as a new community with Catholicism as a basis. So these were women that did experience some discrimination. And then you move into the 1950s when you have a lot of women fleeing Italy after the Second World War, and they're coming over. They're strong women. They're coming over by themselves to a new country. And sometimes they're coming over here at the request of their husband or their husband by proxy. They've never met this person in their life. They're coming. Were the ones that went off to university and became professionals, and that's what you're seeing today in the Italian community. That there are so many professional women. There are politicians. There are judges. Doctors, lawyers, and so the whole issue of gender parity is there right now, I believe, in our community. There are still some patriarchal elements, but I as I say, with regard to seniors, Anna Maria mentioned the New Horizons program. And the Italian community has Villa Marconi, which is a long-term care center, but also offers programs for seniors. And my organization, the National Congress, has recently applied for a New Horizons grant for seniors to be able to provide some programming for these women to make sure that they are inclusive and that they are included in the community. I've put a link on to the chat site early on. It's a project that's emanating from Toronto called the Quiet Immigrant Project. And it has, it's going to have the stories of 18 to 20 women. These are women that I've just discussed that came in the 1950s. I'm going to be having via Zoom the curator of this project. She's going to be presenting to the National Congress a week Tuesday night. So I have put on the link if anybody is interested in hearing these stories, a registration link, and the Zoom link will subsequently follow. And that will, I think, give a little bit more picture of a different generation, because right now the Italian community is very homogenous. And there's a lot of strong women, and I come from a line of strong community leaders, and I value their participation so many years ago. But this, as I say, this project, the Quiet Immigrant Project, will tell the stories of so many of those women that came before us and maybe didn't have the advantages that we have today. So I want to thank Gypsy. I want to thank all the wonderful women on this panel, and I have to go now, but it's been an honor to be alongside all of you today.
Thank you so much, Trina. And it is indeed very important to counter the invisibility of women and their experiences by showcasing those stories and experiences. And I'm sure we could talk about the Greek community with similar issues of assimilation, the Lebanese community, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you so much for all that you've done and continue to do. Next, we'll have Marcela Martinez, please.
I just changed the settings. I just changed the settings of Zoom of who can share the screen so that nobody can share the screen except the host. So are we okay? Because Yvette was suggesting she creates a link, a different link, sent to the persons who are yet to talk. And I send the link to those people in the email. But if we are good, we can go on. And don't worry about those sharings because we are going to edit it anyway. I'm going to send it to my editor to edit those parts. So I'm going to cut off those parts and we're going to put that in the YouTube. Thank God we are not Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Thank God.
So it was a blessing in disguise that didn't work out.
Yeah, I think
yes.
we are
and
good.
again, apologies to everybody for the
I
upset.
really apologize.
We do realize, but thank you.
That's not your fault at all. Don't be, please.
But thank you
and then
for sticking with it. Thank you for sticking with it and staying focused on what we are actually here to do. So can we have Marcela?
Marcela. Because if this happens again, we are going to, take the new link and send it to you all. But,
okay. Yeah. So do we have Marcela?
Yeah. Marcela?
Is she here? Oh. Okay. Can we move on to the next person and then come back to her?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So the next person is Meseret Haile Jesus.
Yeah. So for Meseret, I'm going to play a recorded speech. Just give me some time. Marcela.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
Of course.
Thank you very much. So thank you, Gypsy, for this invitation. I think that it is vital to create spaces like this to talk about these issues. I believe that cultural diversity is one of Canada's richest assets. Living in a country that brings together the best of each culture is a gift. Cultural diversity brings different points of view and diverse perspectives on doing things and innovating. Every culture in Canada has a valuable background that we cannot underestimate. Unfortunately, bias is a barrier to full inclusion in any society. We cannot deny that most people have some bias when making decisions. I think that to protect diversity in the workplace, create inclusive cultures where everyone is represented, collaborate effectively, and make the best decision in any situation, we must be aware of our own biases and manage them. In fact, right now, I'm sure you recall cases you know or have heard about bias-based decision-making. And it is a reality here in Canada that we cannot hide or deny. We experience it every day, but it materializes most in the workplace. I personally have heard many people say that they decided to become entrepreneurs because they did not feel included in their workplaces. We know that Canada suffers from a labor shortage, and even more now after COVID. For me, it is very sad to see highly skilled professionals who were very successful in their home country, but decided to start a new career path because they did not feel included in their company. I will give you a real case of bias. A friend of mine was a successful doctor in her home country. Now she specializes in brain surgery here in Canada after going back to medical school for sure. Once during a conversation, she sadly told me how a professor of hers said to her that her nanny was Latin and that she didn't know that there were Latin doctors in Canada. Her teacher could not believe that a Latin woman could be a doctor. In addition, my friend expressed her frustration because despite having excellent grades, her teacher repeated instructions to her several times. She said, they treat me is if I don't understand the instructions. I invite you to trust these professionals' experience and background from their country. When we deny a job opportunity to an immigrant professional, because despite having a lot of experience in their country, they don't have Canadian experience. It is a big, very bias. It is to dismiss the background that this person can bring to the table. Experienced professionals cannot have low salaries because they don't have Canadian experience. The speech sounds nice when it comes to inclusion, but the current reality is that accessing a job in Canada is full of bias. Now, I cannot imagine what will happen when artificial intelligence is fully implemented to select professionals who will ensure that programmers omit their bias in these machines. And here, the government has a huge responsibility. I want to invite all of us to include more diverse workers in our teams, networks, companies, and workplaces. I encourage you not to do it just because you have to meet a minority quota in your performance. Do it because you are genuinely aware of the value it represents for you, your organization, and society. We begin to build a stronger Canada only when we are aware of the importance of the social inclusion of diverse cultures. People, let's make this beautiful country the best place to live. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness, Marcela, like you're speaking my language right there, because foreign credentials recognition has been the bane of the existence of many, many newcomers to Canada, especially newcomer women. And the bias around people's accents, for example, and assuming that they don't understand English or they don't master the material or their expertise because of that accent is just unbelievable. And in fact, in Canada, the more accents, the better, because that means internationally, Canada can compete, right? But again, I'm speaking to the converted because you have made the business case for this, and hopefully at election time, our provincial leaders will hear you. I hope you will go before committees at the House of Commons or Senate and make that case, yes, because I think it was Ana Maria who was saying, we need to stop being quiet. We need to get in the faces of the politicians and tell them our realities and what they need to do to change those. So next we have Dr. Rashida Suleiman. Is she with us?
Yeah.
Dr. Rashida?
Yeah, Rashida is here. Of course, Rashida is here. Dr. Rashida, I sent the link to Dr. Rashida. What happened to her? 1 second. You know, I can play Messi first.
You found it, okay.
Yeah, I found it. So I'll just talk to Dr. Rashida. Yeah, while I play the speech.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for everything.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah, let me play the speech so that, you know. Oh, so now I have to do all participants. You have to set a, you know, it's your link, right?
Oh yeah, just
Yvette?
yes. Give me a
Yeah,
moment.
you have to now. You have, because I want to share the screen. You know.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Let me remove that for you.
Yeah. Can you do that, please?
Yeah. Where am I
so
here?
that I can share the screen. That's why, you know, I'm not able to share the screen. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know, because I thought it was my link.
I
Yeah,
see
Rashida
Rashida.
is here.
She's logging in now.
Yeah, yeah, she's logging. Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Moha, would you be able to speak on your own as you're joining? Yeah, 1 second. Oh, please unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you be
Right.
able to speak on your own? You've got a lovely speech. You have sent a speech, but would you be able, since you're joining, let's be live. Don't worry, everything will be edited. All those bullshit will be edited. You know, we'll
No
edit
problem.
this conversation.
First of all, my compliments to the entire panel for going through this and staying calm and finding solutions. I think this is part of life. So please don't apologize. It's not anybody's fault. It's an event that could not be helped. But really, thank you for this opportunity. Yes, I had indeed sent in my pre-recorded speech because I was not sure if I'd be able to connect in. And now that I am there, what I could do is basically read out what I was planning to say anyway.
Yeah, thank you. So she is joining live, so I don't have to play her speech, but did you change the settings, Yvette? Did you change it? Okay. So make it participants or host so that, because my, the other part is being recorded now. We'll merge to recordings, we'll edit.
I'm giving you the host so that you can do it because I logged in 2 places. So
are you sure I can do it? Yeah.
Let
me see.
I'm giving you
because just for messy speech, that's all.
I'll reclaim it after.
Okay.
Make host. There you go.
Yeah, the host now. Okay. So can I share the screen now? No. I'm not able to share.
You should be able to, as a host, you can do everything.
Dr. Malwa is here, so can we just have her speak?
I'll work on it.
Dr. Rashida is here. I think Dr. Malwa, Dr. Malwa is from Switzerland. I think.
With the time difference.
For the time, yes. Dr. Malwa can speak, and even let me send you a message speech. You can play the speech. I think I should do that. Yeah. Okay. So let Dr. Malwa speak.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Gypsy. And so hello, I'm Dr. Mahua Ganguly, and I'm speaking to you from Switzerland. And like I said, I had sent in a pre-recorded message. So what I'm going to do is essentially read out the key things that I wanted to share with all of you. So the first time when I was approached by the organizer, by Gypsy actually, to participate in this with such a distinguished panel, and she shared with me the topic, the first thing that occurred to me was they want me to speak about me. And perhaps many of you in the attendees, in the panel felt that way too. It is about us and for us in that sense. So yes, I am more than happy to be listening to all of your experiences, your journeys, and also share my own a little bit. So big compliments for that topic. And I would like to keep my professional background or experience aside and speak to you really more as an individual, in my individual capacity as somebody who's really invested in the multicultural experience of myself and those around me. I'm a woman who was raised, born and raised in one part of the world, and that's India. And I'm currently living and working in another part of the world, that's Switzerland. I have the qualification of a medical doctor who would perhaps have been more comfortable in an environment of hospitals and clinics, but actually I have worked more in the corporate world, in multinational corporations with different global viewpoints and alongside really the business managers and sales managers. So a bit of diversity there, if I can say this. And if I might also add, and I think this is something that many of you have already shared or I'm sure experienced, as you make your way up in the top in the corporate world, more often than not, you see the ratios fairly skewed for the male is to female dimension. So yes, if it is a topic that I relate to personally, that's definitely this one. So there are multiple facets to this topic, this discussion, and being a medical doctor who has worked in various global organizations, I thought it might make sense for me to highlight the health angle a little bit. And of course, when I speak sitting here in Switzerland, I'm actually talking about it more generally as from a global viewpoint, and I am not really that qualified to specifically comment on the Canadian context, but I'm sure there are things of relevance in there. So the health angle is something I think some of my previous panelists also alluded to. I cannot overemphasize this based on my personal experience, my studies, and my understanding. So what I would like to start with is that a human being is a social animal. And I just rephrase the well-known expression, man is a social animal. I would like to call it about the human being. And we like to belong. We like to be included and loved. And that is actually very important for our mental health and well-being. In other words, in the absence of a feeling of inclusion everywhere around the world, our mental health actually gets threatened. And that's the point I want to make. How real is this problem when we consider the multicultural woman in today's world? And I'd like to read out a few figures here. And most of you might already be familiar with this. The American Psychiatry Association, for example, says that racial or ethnic, gender, and sexual minorities often suffer from poor mental health outcomes due to multiple factors, including inaccessibility of high-quality mental health care services, but not just that, also cultural stigma surrounding mental health care, discrimination, and overall lack of awareness about mental health. And as we all know, women are twice as likely as men, for example, to get depression. In fact, when we look at two of the most common mental health disorders, that's depression and anxiety around the world, we find women to be more impacted. Now, a very current context, global events and crises such as war and pandemic actually bring out all these disparities further that I'm sure many of you will already agree with. The WHO estimated that in the situation of armed conflicts throughout the world, 10% of the people who experience this will have serious mental health problems, and another 10% will develop behavior that will hinder normal functioning. And here again, women are more affected than men. The COVID-19 pandemic impacted mental health of the world population at large, but here too, it saw women getting impacted more. And I'm sure many of you have come across those figures. Closer to the ground, and I think one of the other co-panelists did mention it in a way, we see this pressure to fit in. And to give the example, at least in my limited experience of Western male-dominated workplaces, a behavior that is commonly observed among women, especially women who might originally not belong to that particular location, is this need to agree and align. I have myself sat through seminar presentations which glorified diverse women like me, who would highlight the mantra to succeed as keeping your head down and doing your work. Implicit in it was the message, you might feel it challenging to function, you might feel you aren't heard, but if you just slog it out twice as much, become twice as good as the rest, you will eventually make it. You don't have to challenge or speak up much. This behavior nurtures unhealthy suppression of emotions, anger, indignation, frustration, and it helps no one. To be honest, I made that mistake too, especially in my early days of adulthood, venturing out into this world. Today, I know it is important to challenge this. We as individuals owe it to ourselves to safeguard our health and well-being. I personally have 4 watch-outs. Those are my personal learnings in the face of these challenges, and that's something that I would like to share this opportunity. The trick is to spot these things early in our environment and respond. First, self-respect. This is non-negotiable. No environment, workplace, or society can justify disrespect of individuals. Being talked over, interrupted, treated dismissively, being the target of jokes and generalizations, and there are many such examples. The guiding principle, according to me, is if it feels disrespectful, it probably is. The second is draw boundaries. We need to protect ourselves. So be careful of who you open up to and permit to cross into your inner sanctuary. Again, that's my learning for myself. Third, trust actions more than words. People know the right words, they know the right things to say, but observing their actions towards you will help you in judging your situation better and managing these. And the fourth one, and this may be the fourth in my list, but it's actually even more important than many of the others because that's something that I realized more on hindsight, is the red flags. Intuitions are the result of your knowledge, your experience, and your sensitivities. If something doesn't feel right or in the best intent towards you, it probably isn't. So don't ignore them. And finally, it is important to seek professional help early if you are feeling overwhelmed. We need to destigmatize and normalize talking about mental health issues and feel confident about seeking professional help, recognizing that we might need it and that it is no fault of our own. It's just like having an accident or a physical illness. It's just one more. That's the first important step. So that's my main message. And I would like to sign off by saying, be unapologetically you. Diversity in a group or a team is a powerful asset, but only if it can be leveraged. And the only way to do that is by fostering an inclusive culture. Remember that and remind others if needed. It's indeed a pleasure to be part of this panel, and I wish you a great discussion and a great session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ganguly, and thank you for calling us all the way from Switzerland. You guys are 8 hours ahead of us, I believe, or 7 hours ahead of us. So it must be very late over there. And really, that reminder is much needed. Self-care, self-preservation, and normalizing seeking help and support to maintain your mental well-being. So next we will have, I believe now we do have Dr. Rushida, if she can come on with her remarks.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, okay. So good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. It's been an honor, and I would like to thank Gypsy for inviting me to such an elite platform where I get to see such elite leaders. It's really a great moment to cherish, and I will remember this moment whenever I think of great people do great things. I've heard all of you. I've heard a lot of good messages, a lot of things to advocate, and I've seen that there's the bottom line here is women empowerment. And that's the main message going throughout this session. But let me take you back. And before that, I'd introduce myself that I am the principal of a school. I've been in the field of education for more than a decade. And I enjoy helping students to be empowered first, because they are the future citizens of tomorrow. We adults understand and we are patient enough, we can tolerate, but when we do not bring in this sense in schools and make our students understand the terms like social inclusion and cultural diversity, they are the ones who would be lost in the future. And that's what's happening right now. The foundation has to be nurtured. When you sow a plant, when you sow a seed, you first nurture it well so that it becomes a fruitful tree. So today's trees, if they were not nurtured well in schools and colleges, this is the result of violence which is happening all over the world. So whether we talk of well-being or whether we talk of social inclusion, or whether we talk of gender equality, prior to all that, we are all today, we understand the meaning of empowerment and how to advocate ourselves. And I would like to bring in a little bit of background to this. There is a beautiful play, I don't know if you all have read this book. It's called A Doll House, written by a Norwegian writer, Henry Ibsen. I'm sure most of you must have read it. And this is what I tell my students: nothing is impossible. And this story is a clear example, like Chantal, I think she is an embodiment of how to withstand and how to stand up for women. So similarly, this book, it was released in 1890. In the 18th century, women were suffering. They were treated as dolls. Men would only give them importance as something, embodiment of beauty. And they would think that they are dumb and useless. That was what the women's role was in the 18th century. But when this play was released in 1890, the main protagonist of the story, Nora, she is treated as a doll. There are beautiful dialogues throughout the play which show how men feel that they are superior, how they would like to dominate women. That is the entire which goes on throughout the play. When towards the end, Nora understands that women need their place. Their place in the society. They need to be recognized. So the play ends with a very good symbolic significance that she bangs the door and gets out of the house and says goodbye. She's done with injustice, done with tolerance, and she doesn't want to take it anymore. She comes out, and that shows that the end of 18th century, everything was banned, closed, abandoned, and women came out in the open. And from the 19th century, this women empowerment grew strong. So imagine, 19th century, we started this beautiful journey of advocating and fighting for our rights. Today, 21st century, we are still fighting. We have to reflect. We have to understand that what we have done so far is not yet, we have not achieved our goal. We still have a long way to go. We still need leaders like y'all. We still need Gypsy to inspire us, to ignite us. That, come on, we can do it. And together, somebody said about diversity, I say unity in diversity is the right term today. If we get united and hold hands together, we can move mountains. And those men, there'll be no more of that women getting no jobs or women being inferior. Of course, I did a lot of homework. And this is the book I recommend all of you for schools. If you have children in schools or if you know people, this is a beautiful book, Ensouling Our Schools, where they explain how social and emotional balance is very important. And we as women with cultural diversity, how we could help in bringing about this. All the tips and strategies are mentioned here. Of course, I have done a lot of homework, but I think you all have heard so much from others that I don't want to take much of your time. I've been patiently waiting for my turn to get the word across that we can do it today. We will do it. And McKinsey's report clearly says McKinsey is a management company and they've been working a lot. I'm sure you've heard about it. They have published a lot of magazines and reports, and they clearly say that if women are given leadership roles, that company goes a long way. Why? Because we are more patient. We understand needs, we relate experiences, and we go beyond. So that is my message to you all today, that in spite of having cultural differences, we have diversity. And I've been, and Gypsy knows me, Marie-France Lalonde, I salute her. She has been supporting us because I've been bringing international students from all over the world to develop the economy of this country, not only to develop, but with that international flavor, our students understand better. They understand the perceptives of others. But when you remain in a frog in a well, where you only understand the needs of what's going around in your community, that is not social inclusion. True social inclusion is when you bring in a different flavor with different communities together. And then you grow together, you understand needs of each other. That is true social inclusion, because then you can participate. And I think somebody spoke about people who are disabled, they feel left out. And I think Chantal is doing a lot of work for them. But why? Because they understand that they have social presence, but they don't have social participation. They cannot participate actively in any activities which are being launched either by the government or by the community, because they don't feel welcome. They don't feel belonged. My voice today is I'm reaching out to you all, make them feel that they belong to us. They belong to our community, and we can do it. Nothing is impossible. Of course, with the pandemic, there were a lot of issues where people felt isolated, especially our elders. And so we sent out students to help them to get how to use technology, because at least technology, attending some seminars or workshops, or at least talking to their loved ones across, made them feel better. So we made our students empower elderly to become tech savvy. So if you have someone, if you can reach out to them, because that is the best thing. If they get tech savvy, then they get connected with the world, connected with everyone, and they feel that they are part of the entire bigger community. So this is the big idea, that get connected, bring in a nice flavor of social inclusion, and we all will rock one day, because nothing is impossible. Success is a journey, not a destination. Thank you, one and all.
Very well said, Dr. Suleiman. And it's wonderful to hear from an educator about the importance of starting from the ground, because children are not born sexist. They're not born racist, and they're not born to exclude other kids.
Yeah.
They learn that. It's a learned behavior. And so the work that you're doing in the school system is very important in instilling those values that will help us get to the inclusion and the diversity that we're looking for. So next, can we have Yvette?
Just one word I would like to add. Right now, I'm working with an indigenous community, the Cree Nation, and they are so loving. They are so caring. They just need a little touch. Truth and reconciliation is what they don't understand. If you know someone and if you want to get connected with them, with any of the indigenous, they just need a little bit of care and understanding. And
Thank
they
you very
can
much.
do wonders. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Yvette Ashiri, please.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Gypsy, for the invitation, and to all of you women, ladies, thank you for all. Well, my name is Yvette Shiri. I am a community, well, I'm speaking here in Orleans, Canada, where I live with my spouse and my two daughters. I'm a community leader, also a global change maker, global a trainer, and a global motivational speaker as well. I've been working over the past 10 years really into educating, inspiring, and empowering young women and young women into understanding the power that as women we have to bring change. And when I was growing up, I'm the elder of four, I believe, five, and it's my parents, both my mother and my dad, they really built my self-esteem. You know, it was always a message of you can do whatever you want to do. You have to build yourself. I've been nurtured in that atmosphere, in that culture. Yes, I was, my father, I would say, only had girls, and as African, most of the time we need a male to be the heir and etc. That's the culture, that masculinity culture that we have. But I never had that. I was the firstborn, but I was the leader as a woman. I was recognized as a human being. So growing up with that, I always find it unfair when other young women, they don't have that, they are not providing the space, they are not providing the chances, the equal chances in order to be and to do whatever they want to do. So after moving here in Canada about 13 years ago, time to, I moved for marriage, and so just time to get myself set in a city and getting to know, my new home and etc. What I was working, I was reading one day. I was reading an article, and that was an article about the gender-based violence happening in my home country, Congo, DRC. This is something that we have been aware of for so many years without the world really doing anything. And at that time, I remember it really struck me because I was reading an article where Dr. Denis Mukwege, Nobel Peace Prize 2018, was talking about how a young baby of 2 years was just raped and completely destroyed by that massive rape and etc. And at that time, my kids, they were very young, and it just, I felt it in my stomach. And while reading, I said, but how come this is still happening? And I don't hear the media talking about it. I don't hear nowhere where we say that it's not right. So then it is at that time, gathering, speaking with a good sister of mine, we decided then to start educating toward the issue of gender-based violence, advocating for the elimination of gender-based violence as war weapon, as it is done in countries of war, of conflicts, and associating it here as well with the domestic violence, the violence that other women have experienced, because violence in general, no matter the type of violence towards a woman, it is wrong. So while starting working with Fédération Femmes Enfants Avenir Monde that I co-founded and I'm the president, our goal was really to reach out first to the youngest, as Dr. Rashida, she mentioned here, the young people, they are the future of tomorrow. And if we don't build them, who's gonna do it? So to me, it was important to not only inspire, educate, but also to show to young women how important it is for them to stand for themselves, how important it is to recognize, to pay attention to things that can harm them, as well as advocating for the elimination of gender-based violence. We started collaborating with more like-minded organizations in the city that we have, who are fighting for the cause of eliminating gender-based violence. And along the way, we while doing this work with the young women, we just noticed how much it was needed to build the self-esteem, how much many of them have been undermined, how many have suffered from, on appelle ça le sexe, comment on appelle ça? I forgot the name. L'inceste. Incest, I don't even know how to say that in English, but l'inceste and, you know, rape. Sorry? Yeah?
Incest?
Yes,
yeah, the same
incest.
way. Yeah,
It's the same way. So it's just that we have so many things happening in our city, in our country, despite all the policies that we have, you know, to eradicate, to include for diversity and inclusion, to eradicate racism and etc. There are still many things happening underground that we don't talk about, that we don't hear enough about, that needs to be addressed, because it depends on the well-being of the social economic of our country. So we doing that work as we continue. At a moment you will understand that yes, you are doing the advocacy work, but sometimes you need to be also at the places where the decisions are taken, where the decisions are being made. And I would like to bring something here about my journey a little bit in this journey of finding your purpose and bringing the change that you want to see in the world. It starts with ourselves. It starts by recognizing, yes, I'm able to do it, but what can I do? Who can I do that with? And so that is how, just going, I ended up running for city council about 2 years ago. And in that, I learned so many other things. I learned it's not something that it exists. What bothered me while running is when we talk about diversity, is the lack of normalizing Black women to run. Like, it's about making it just, it's normal. You know, when I started to run at the beginning, it was, oh, she's Black, she's not gonna do anything, she doesn't have the money, and etc. So all those bias that, you know, that comes when you see a woman from the diversity and etc. These are the things that were said, but to me, you know, I don't pay attention to things that are lower than me. And therefore, I was looking at it in a way where I said, wow, these are the reasons why we are doing what we are doing. And into that, it just confirmed how important it is to have more women from the ethnocultural community in politics, in all levels of our governments, to be there and present, to speak up for the needs of the members of our communities, because we live that every day and we know better how those can be addressed. So when we talk about social inclusion and diversity, I loved how, I think it's Marcela or someone else who said that we have to be unapologetical. And yes, we have to, because at the end of the day, we are all human beings, and our skin color or wherever we are from should not determine what we are able to do. So it's really to tell every woman who are here in this panel, just to continue to advocate for who you are, your self-identity, you know that you are strong, and that there's nothing that you cannot do unless you set your mind into it. So really the journey, the work that we have been doing has all this importance, because when we look back, it is not for ourselves. We are not doing it for ourselves, but we are doing it for the younger generation. If we look back about 100 and plus years ago, women, they were fighting to have the rights to vote. Those pioneers, they are not here today, but here we are benefiting from the work that they did. So therefore, change takes time, but we have to continue to advocate for change. We have to speak up whenever we see the need. We have to take the action whenever we see the need. We have to denounce when we see that it's not fair. So women have been suffering, women from the diversity, they have been suffering from so many challenges that is at the workplace, unequal wages, that is in sports, in everywhere. So women, being a woman, from what the society has put it, it's already a challenge. You add to that being a woman of color or from the diversity, it's another layer of challenge. So it is up to us to say, we are here, we are able, we are capable to do anything that we can do, and we're gonna continue to do it, because after all, c'est nous qui portons le monde. We are, it is us, we carry this world. So we are the educator, we are the mothers, we do it all. There's nothing that a woman cannot do. So let us continue to fight until we see the change that we want to see. And believe me that we are more than able. And thank you so much, Gypsy, for bringing us all together here. Thank you, Sarah, for the great moderation as usual. And merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Yvette. Being the change we want to see in the world. And I was very proud to see yourself, Lise Pascal, and the young lady from London who recently got elected to the House of Commons. We need to see more women, not just Black, but of South Asian descent in their saris. We need to see more Latina women with their accents. It doesn't matter if it doesn't sound like British English or whatever. We need to see more older women. We need to see more younger women in places where decisions are made. And at some point, hopefully before we are gone, it will be normalized, because that is the challenge. Just normalize all of that so it's not the big deal and the biases fall. Oh, last but not least, finally, we get to hear from Dr. Ruba Fatal. Please take the floor.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give also a shout out to the last speaker. I was so inspired by hearing all of you. I'm sorry I came a bit late to the party. Apparently there were a few technical issues, so I missed those parts, but I'm very glad to be now with you. Allow me a little bit to pivot from the direction, just because of my own experience. So as perhaps Gypsy had mentioned, that I lead an organization. So I founded an organization called the Kanata Carlton Small Business Network. So I'm going to speak from my experience of being a woman, particularly during COVID, and the discrimination in the digital era against women in business, and how did they deal with it, and also some opportunities that exist. So first of all, we all know that business here in Canada, small business, is the backbone of our society and of our economy. That's how communities are built. Small business makes up 95% of the workforce in Canada, like of the small business community, it's 95%. But out of these 95% of small businesses that we have in Canada, only 16% are owned as proprietary owner of men who are owning these businesses. And unfortunately, out of this 16%, only close to half of that is of newcomers, for example, or of diversity as well. So you can see that the percentage of women in business or entrepreneurs in Canada is very limited, particularly when we are talking about women and we're talking about diversity and women entrepreneurship. So there are lots of programs and efforts in the past years to encourage women to become business entrepreneurs and also to encourage diversity. I mean, you have programs to support Black women in business. We have also of Indigenous business owners. But it's, unfortunately, COVID happened. while all these programs were being developed or being, thought about, COVID happened. And here are just few of the observations that I have seen on the ground when that happened. First of all, out of those 16% of businesses that are owned by women in Canada, mostly they are either service-based. So we are talking about like daycares, for example, when we say service-based. We are talking about retail businesses. We are talking about food business, restaurants, and we're talking about tourism, for example, travel agents and travel agencies. If you have heard this list that I was just mentioning, daycares, services, retails, food services, restaurants, tourism, you'll see that these are the hardest hit businesses during COVID and since the pandemic started. So it has been devastating really on women. And I can share with you some of the experiences of, just share three, for example, experiences from women entrepreneurs that I know here in Canada, where we launched and where we operate our network. A few months before the pandemic, they were supposed to launch a few programs. One of them was a new daycare in Canada North. The other one was a swimming pool, but a specific swimming pool for children with heated water, because most of the waters in some facilities are colder. So they wanted to have a more comfortable surrounding for children to learn, to be more able to learn comfortably. And I think the teacher here among us would understand that a very comfortable temperature for water, it's more conducive to learning. Then we have a third one, the Lunch Lady of Canada and the West End. So the Lunch Lady was trying to launch a new program to reach more schools in the area. And the Lunch Lady really depends on schools being open. Swimming pools depends on the parents bringing their kids to swim lessons. And the daycare, of course, depends on children attending the daycare. All of these businesses have invested heavily, a lot of money. And for a year, 3 of them were building something new. They have paid for rent. They have actually the swimming pool as well as the daycare were built from scratch. They spoke to engineers and they were constructing the swimming pool. They were building it so that it fits the need of the community. Same thing for the daycare. So imagine all these plans and all these years, basically, of dreaming, of hoping, of putting the money together, of investing. And then finally it's gonna come and then COVID hits. And the restriction did not allow any of that to happen. It was a huge devastation for these 3 individuals that we are in touch with. And we were very close to them and we tried to support them. Now, women entrepreneurs in general are resilient and very sharp and hardworking. I mean, you don't become a woman entrepreneur already, part of the 16%, unless you have these qualities. So they tried to pivot. And the way they did it, of course, for some businesses, it was not possible to open and change their model just because it depends on physical. But they did lots of advertising. They took advantage of some of the funding and some of the subsidies that were provided by the government in order to at least raise awareness so that the public is ready. Once they open and launch, the public is knowledgeable about their services and know that they exist. The Lunch Lady, for example, changed her business completely. Like she started to provide the lunches for the students who are staying at home. So the delivery wasn't going to schools, it was going to the homes. So parents can still work, because most of you know that if you are if you're 2 and you're a woman, you're still working and you're still teaching at the end of the day. None of your obligation of cooking, preparing the kids, teaching, doing homework had stopped. Everything was continuing. So that was a model, a way for her to support the parents, the both parents who are still working. All this to say is that COVID really hit women very hard because these services have hit hard, but they were resilient and they were trying to find ways. And the 3 of them, just the examples, and there are many, survived this because of their change of models. But not only that, they had to learn new skills. And this is where also the gender gap, you can see it clearly, because we have a gender gap when it comes to digital literacy. So many of these women, unlike the men, for example, were not prepared to use Zooms, to use Teams, to use technology like Strip and all of these financial tools in order to get payments for their services. They didn't have the savviness of the social media savviness, most of them, to know how to advertise, even if it's for free, or to do campaigns on social media. All of these skills had to be learned. The advantage is some of the male counterparts had already that knowledge. They have perhaps used the tools, or they were more in the tech-savvy business that allowed them to continue. Of course, we know that some businesses that are run mainly by male, for example, construction, renovation, and all of these businesses not only survived, but even some of them boomed during the pandemic. Now we compare that to what the women were going through and this digital literacy that they had to go through to update their knowledge and to be able to kind of continue with their business, not stop, like they didn't want to stop. Now, parallel to that, what we were seeing as well, if those women were also of marginalized women group, for example, seniors, older generation, newcomers, now that's an added challenge because now we are adding also the language barrier. The good news though, out of all this, looking back at it now in retrospect, if you look at the past 2 years, I would say that women have learned a lot in the past 2 years. I don't have the exact statistics, but I remember reading an article about the digital literacy among women that it was increasing, that opportunities have been opening up. And few of the things I'll share with you. Beside the businesses, I also support newcomers to integrate and to resettle. And some of the women who couldn't leave their children because they had little children, they weren't ready to go to school, they couldn't go for language training. Because the language training in the West End was full, there was a wait list of 2 years. So they had to go to Orleans. You tell me, who is gonna leave children, be late, take 2 hours in the snow to take buses because they don't have cars to go to Orleans to learn English? I mean, can you make it more difficult for somebody to learn a language, to integrate and to get a job? Luckily, the digital world, for those who were willing to really take advantage of that and who were willing to look at the resources available to get free even digital literacy, they managed to not only improve their English because now they can, from the comfort of their home, while their children are napping or close by, they were able to follow language courses. In fact, some of the newcomers that we are supporting, the women, were able to get Algonquin College degrees during the past 2 years. Not everyone, but if there is support from volunteers, okay, from allies within the communities who guided them through this, and I know that the ones who came through the private, the LIVOR, for example, or the private sponsorship or the small group sponsorship got that support. And I see lots of successful stories around me. By that time, by this year, in fact, few of them had gotten their citizenship, and you know that you have to pass a language test now to be able to do your test and to be able to swear in and to get your citizenship, and they managed to get it. So there is a silver lining to all of this. Yes, there is more discrimination and more hurdles and more challenges for a woman to be an entrepreneur first, for a woman of diversity to be an entrepreneur, for a woman of social marginalized group of diversity within that woman group to have a business, and also for those who don't have businesses, but they are from marginalized group to get the digital savviness, yet it is opening up opportunities for them, either to learn the language or to get involved in school and to get their education. This is all just to say that I'm kind of hopeful that if the organization, they see that, and I know that many of the organizations, for example, I am working with the Immigrant Women Service of Ottawa. Here locally, I'm on the board of director of the Western Ottawa Community Resource Center, where they are supporting women into getting their language and to getting their the resources that they need for daycare or support for their families and their children. Plus, they are getting the support for tech savviness and to become more at ease and comfortable to use digital tools that exist. So digital literacy is what I really encourage everyone to focus on. in the future for marginalized and diverse and minorities, because that is the key for them from the comfort of their home to get the tools that they need to move forward and to advance in life and to integrate in Canadian society and also the job market. So I hope with these words, I give some opportunities for the future, some lighter side. I agree with everything that I have heard, lived it myself, the discrimination. And somebody mentioned, I don't recall who, I believe it was a doctor who had to leave from Switzerland. She mentioned that as you go up in the corporate ladder, you touch that ceiling, that glass ceilings become, it narrows down, it becomes closer. You feel like it's hitting your head, because you're trying to go up and there is resistance. So we all feel it. And I have heard here from the panels that few of the tricks which I believe in and which I I use myself on a daily basis is be comfortable of who you are, be proud of who you are, be the ambassador of who you are and where you come from and your ancestors, work hard and keep trying. And what I would add to everything that I have heard, perhaps maybe because I didn't hear it, have allies. I have worked with people who, and I'm seeing discrimination, of course, becoming more at the fore or becoming more open because of social media. We're hearing it more. But there are allies, and I have worked with amazing Canadians who had supported me and supported lots of the refugees and were generous. And I would say they were tolerant and accepting. And we are pushing now this boundary to not only be tolerated or accepted, but really to be part of the society, because we are building the society together. And I am talking to those allies and those allies are backing us. So let's build these bridges with them and continue into that journey together, because we have to make these changes. And I know that you all know this and you have all experiences and you're all doing it. Otherwise, Gypsy wouldn't have brought us all here together today. So thank you very much, Gypsy, for everything that you do for this platform and for the digital literacy that we have, that we manage this crisis today. So bravo to you and to all of us here. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to be part of this panel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fatal, for that hopeful note about bridging the digital divide to promote the social inclusion. And I like the idea of let's just move from tolerance, from acceptance to inclusion, because inclusion ultimately is what is going to build social cohesion and economic growth. Hello. Yes. if you're leaving out, whole sections of society, how are you building economic growth that all these different governments keep talking about, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I believe, Yvette, you have Meseret Haile Yesus's video.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meseret Haile Jesus. I live in Ottawa. I'm the founder and the director of the Canadian Centre for Women Empowerment. Canadian Centre for Women Empowerment is the only nonprofit organization in Canada addressing economic injustice through policy change, education, and advocacy. We work with survivors of gender-based violence and economic and financial abuse through our advocacy, through education, and also through economic support. So on this International Women's Day and also International Women's Month, there is a need to celebrate a Women's Day because women are often subjected to preconceived perception of what they can do and what they cannot do, as you know. And their first biased behavior of people, and also statistics shows that education availability for a woman, especially at the global level, is minimal. And also, as you know, a lot of women during the pandemic impacted by gender-based violence. That impacted them, and also to access some of the economic resources. As you know, women have also economic rights, but because of violence during the pandemic, we have seen a lot of women were not accessing even their credit card, not accessing also food, since accessing of transport because of violence at the house. This pandemic, it affects women in many ways. Name it from violence, naming economic resources, mental health, stigma, poverty, systemic racism, you name it. Especially people who are like, Black, Indigenous, and people of color are highly impacted during this pandemic because of many systemic factors. And also when you see the pay equity, pay according to gender continues, and also men are still allowed to make more the major decision about women, including even abortion rights. In addition to this, other persistent factors still unrecognized. So we clearly need a day to start the conversation and open agendas that need global attention. So the journey of women from protesting on the streets to make the world celebrate International Women's Day is not an easy task, an easy journey. We celebrate this day today because of the historical footsteps of great women who fought their rights. So we need to remind, we need to encourage and celebrate women achievement from coast to coast, from all over the world. So as you know, today's movement, like Me Too, have created a mass movement across the world where each woman can stand up equal to man without any fear. So women are empowered to say many women are now and also in the lead role, but there's still others who be neglected, as we know. So women in different lives, still they feel judged negatively, still they are influenced, still they are also take care of, their own family members in many ways. So the responsibility, as you know, it's so huge for a woman at this point. So in this International Day or International Women's Month, let us all show the appreciation, respect, love to all incredible women in our life. Be it your mother, be it your wife, your daughter. Let us show that we are proud of their efforts and pledge to create a world where women don't have to face any kind of affliction. Thank you so much for inviting me to share my small statement on behalf of my organization. Thank you so much, the World Multicultural Organization, all the work you do in our community to uplift women's voice, to raise our voice in many levels, to inspire these young generations. I really appreciate your work, and thank you so much, Gypsy, for your amazing leadership. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Messeret, for the work that you do, not just in Canada, but Messeret is another one of those Canadians who works on a global level back in her home country in Ethiopia with women suffering from fistula and other health issues and gender-based violence, etc. And that was our last speaker. I have to thank all of the panelists for all of their valuable insights. And Gypsy, I look forward to seeing the edited video so that I can hear, so that I can hear
I'm so sorry.
No, don't worry. All of the inspiring, really, there was a lot of inspiration, but a lot of information. For someone like me who does radio, you see behind me, 89.1 FM, we are community radio, and we need to be talking more about the work being done by Marcela, by Dr. Ruba, by Yvette, by the educator, I forget what her name is because I don't have all the names on the screen.
Dr. Suleiman.
In fact, the work of all these women that we just heard today, I mean, that needs to be a series on community radio in all the different languages so that a wider audience can really hear all your voices, hear about all the work that you do, because, I mean, mainstream media is not paying attention to the contributions you are making now and have been making. And this needs to be known because this also makes the case for better funding for all your initiatives and value. For people to give value to what you do, they have to know what you do. They have to see what you do. So thank you very much for everything you do, and to Gypsy, oh my God, for bringing all of us together. Women of different colors, of different faiths, different languages, different backgrounds, different interests. But our common interest is really to make Canada, our new home, a better place, and to collaborate and work together as allies of each other from our different communities, and as allies with the male people in our society to make the world a better place. So thank you so much.